Hello, learners. Today we are going to begin a very important topic in understanding English literary criticism. The work is an essay of dramatic poesy that is written by John Dryden. Let us begin with first the very important knowledge that in which year this work appeared. The work was published in 1668. This is called, Atkins has called this work as the most elaborate and one of the most attractive and lively work of Dryden's critical work. So, among all his critical essays or works, this is the one to which the readers can easily interact, understand, and actually put into their own knowledge in understanding, in fact, even the whole age of that time, the mindset. So, this essay is a very crucial essay in understanding the development in English literary criticism. There is a story behind the work. As I told you, it was published in 1668, but the work was written in 1665, that is 3 years before. In 1665, London was hit by plague, and Dryden himself was driven out of London. He had sought refuge at the country residence of his father in law at Charlton and at Wiltshire. So he was not there, and he had got time because he was in a kind of seclusion, and in that time he could concentrate and realize the literary scenario because he was out of London, and he could give a thought that what is going on in the literary scene. So in 1665 the work was written, and uh, but it took time to shape, and it was the same year when Dryden became a poet laureate. That was in 1668. This work also got published. So now you know that when it is published, when it was published and when it was written. So let us just begin with the structure first, like how the work has been structured by him. This essay, more of it is an essay. You would see that it is in a kind of dramatic form itself. Why? Because it is designed as a literary debate among four friends. So he has created four characters who are talking to each other. So there is a debate, and these dialogues have been used to his advantage. He used this, he has some purpose behind this. What is the purpose? He has talked about different kind of dramas, or the drama of different ages, but it appears that he is not concluding anywhere, because he's making the four characters speak, the four characters defending their own choice of drama, and then it gets to the reader that to which side they are more satisfied, or to whose point he's more satisfied. Like it happens in a debate, when you listen to the for and against moment, you listen to their points. So the as an audience you get to decide that to which side you are more convinced. So similarly it happens in this. It's kind of literary debate. All the four characters, in a dramatic way, they are having a conversation, and they are talking, they are putting their points, and in that they are defending their choice of drama. So he need not write the conclusion for the work. He was simply just putting the points out. Now it's on the readers, like you, like me, what to which side we are more convinced, right? Although there is a kind of little prejudice over here, because ultimately he had something in his mind to prove, but it was not that direct. It was because all the sides were well defended by him. All the characters that were created tried to defend their choice of drama very well, but definitely there was a tinge of um, what do you call, uh, an intention to convince one particular side that I'm going to talk ahead. Let us just come to the four characters and the background that was the scene at that time. As I told you earlier, that it is in a kind of discussion form, and there are four friends, these four characters. They are they are come they What is the scene chosen by him? The four characters are inspired from real characters of the time. They were all his contemporary characters, more or less. The first character is Critus, and Critus is the character which is based on his own brother-in-law, Sir Robert Howard. He was also a literary figure. He has also done some literary contribution. So Sir Robert Howard is the first character here, Crites. Then is your Sir Charles Sedley. He is appearing as Lycidius. Then Eugenius is the third character, and that is based on Lord Bucharest. And the fourth character, Neander, is Dryden. This is a very important point to be noted, because many times in competitive exam it comes that which character was Dryden, or Neander represented whom. So this Neander, you have to remember this, the fourth character. In this fourth character, he himself appears as Dryden. So as I told you, he has given a dramatic touch to the work, so you can see a kind of setting also, that where these four characters are, in what situation they are. This particular situation also has some kind of meaning to the work, which I'll explain further. As the setting says, that they all are sitting on a barge. Barge is a kind of boat, right? A little big boat, and they are four sitting on that, and they are rowing over Thames River. Thames River, you all know, London's biggest river is Thames River, and they are all rowing on a barge, and waiting for some news actually. And that news was about the victory over the Dutch, or over the people of Denmark, because there was a war going on between England and Denmark. So they wanted to hear the news of their winning. So this particular moment itself explains that there was a sense of nationalism, right? They were I mean and Dryden was dedicated towards his own country. He is a poet laureate, even so, which he became obviously in 1668. The work was written in 1665, but there was definitely a sense of nationalism. So this particular point would help you understand the whole context, which I would raise again in later slides. Then, what is the purpose here? Let me come to you the same thing that I want to tell you. The main purpose of the essay is written by himself, like he says in the introductory part. When you write a work, there is some kind of introduction written to the work, right? In a book you must have seen earlier. So he himself writes that the purpose of this work is historical. Why historical? He says that I am writing this work not just to entertain or just to enlighten people, to give some knowledge about the present thing. He wanted to vindicate the honor of the English writers. It's in the quote unquote form, I'm just telling you, to vindicate the honor of our English writers from the censure of those who unjustly prefer the French before them. Vindicate means to justify, right? So what he wants to justify the work of the English writers, because at the time when he was writing, or this work was written, I had already mentioned this in my earlier class, where we had discussed that the period of Dryden, that how Sir Charles came to the scenario when he came back from France, the exile. After 1660, when he came back, he brought the taste of French drama, because French people were very much, enthusiastic about the antiquity, the rules of the antiquity, the classical rules. So they had implemented all the classical rules in their work. But what Dryden is telling, that English writers, they may not have been so, enthusiastic about the classical rules. They have taken their own liberty, and this liberty has helped them flourish, because there is no name like Shakespeare, right? There is no name like Beaumont Fletcher. So all these writers of the previous age, the Elizabethan age, the Renaissance period, they became very popular, successful, just because they had the spirit of experimenting in literature. They did not just stick to the classical rule, because classical rules were very long back, and one has to evolve with time. uh, Even in a normal life, you and I cannot live the same way what our ancestors used to live, right? We cannot go by the same rules what our ancestors followed. So this liberty is needed, this experiment is needed. So if we say about Dryden, what he is doing, he is again defending his own country, people, the writers of his own country, the England, right? So before the French drama, before the French writers. So this nationalism, which I had just pointed in the earlier slide, that the winning over the victory over the Dutch was, symbolizing that nationalistic fervor at that time. How people were so, enthusiastic about that whatever is going on about in their country or outside their country is going to affect their thought. So the same point can be seen over here, it can be observed over here, that nationalistic view is here, right? He wants to favor his own country writers or his own people before the French writers, even though the king himself was in favor of French drama. But Dryden has this thing in his mind, that no, it's not always the French drama that is going to, overpower our country's literature. We as our, we as a, I as a critic, or I as a writer, I here is Dryden, should do something for my own country, writers, my own people. See, you would think that Dryden is only inspired by people of the, Renaissance writers. It's not so. Dryden himself was influenced by the classical writers. There is no doubt about it. He had accepted many of their rules. He had looked back. He can be, said, it can be said that he was the beginning of neoclassical period, the classical period which was revived in English literature. He somewhere stands after Ben Jonson. He somewhere stands where neoclassical period was taking its, impact over the writers. It was coming back, it was reviving after the Renaissance period. Ben Jonson was the earliest one here. After Renaissance, Ben Jonson was the one who brought back the classical touch, who brought back the classical rules into the literature, because Shakespeare and Fletcher, Beaumont, these people were doing a lot of experimentation. And Ben Jonson was in the of the view that since Shakespeare was not that much educated, he had no knowledge of Latin and Greek, or less knowledge of Latin and Greek, so he would not be able to appreciate the rules of the classical period. So Ben Jonson brought back those rules once, but it was just him at that time, but it was carried forward through this, age of Dryden. And Dryden was also part of it. He was also influenced by the classical literature. He was following those rules and principles, but he studied the ancients with open mind. This is the good point about Dryden. Even if we say that in present, if you just compare it to the present scenario, if in normal life we talk about, we should all respect the values of our ancestors. As I said, that we need liberty, we need to do some experiments, then our ancestors, we cannot live like them, but definitely we can value all the good things that they have given to us, right? The value system that they have, handed down to us, we can all value them. The good habits, if you talk about the good, causes, the good deeds that they had taught us about other other people, how to be nice to others, how to not do wrong to others. All those values, if we imbibe in our life, life would be very much, different. Along with being liberal, along with being doing experiment, we can at least hold on to the good values that is given by the ancestors. The same thing has been done by Dryden. Dryden definitely looked up to the ancestors, he studied them, he followed many of their rules, but there is a kind of liberty in his approach. He was in he read all and studied and understood all the rules set by the ancestors with open mind. Why? Because he can modify their views where he thought it necessary, because those rules have to suit the present age. The why I'm giving the normal life example, so that you can actually relate that how difficult it is to follow the rules of first century before Christ in the present scenario, or in the 17th century. So one has to modify them to suit the time and the taste of people, right? He maintained the originality in his work. That is the best part about him, that even when he was following the classical rules, but he was giving that much scope to his own writing and in his approach, that he can suit to the present time, and then he becomes original in himself. So this essay is just not vindicating the English writers, it is asking people to be more it is just to be nationalistic. One, instead of running after the French drama, they should appreciate their own history of English literature, their own ancestors of English literature, who have given them a better work than the French people or the classical works. So this purpose was very big. So always I would just add a point over here. I just like to relate things to our life. We should all look at the bigger purpose in our life. Whatever you are doing in the present time, whatever I am doing in the present time, it's just a small thing to that purpose of our life that we actually want to achieve. So please, students, you also look for a purpose in your life and just be part of it. Then it will help you to be dedicated to your work. Sometimes we all do not know that what we are doing, because we lack that purpose in our life. So please look for that purpose, hold on to it. Maybe you are just contributing a very small thing, a very small part into that big purpose, but you are actually doing something, you are going to achieve something in the end. So that purpose, we are just coming back to Dryden. So Dryden's purpose of his work is very clear to us, and it's actually a huge one. It was not just that he wanted to establish himself, or to bring his own thought. It was a very big thing to defend his own ancestors, the predecessors who had worked before him, and he appreciated them so much, even though he was himself a part of neoclassical writers. He has actually worked in accelerating that trend of classical literature. It was not just him, the whole age was like that. So let's come to the beginning, the scenario again, the how the work begins. In this word here, the work begins with some general discussion about literature. As I told you, there are four characters there is a dramatic touch to the essay, and these four characters are talking, they are discussing about literature, and they are comparing the achievements of the ancient and moderns in various branches, right, of literature. When we say ancient, they are Greeks, they are the writers of the Greco-Roman periods, the Latin writers, Virgil, Homer, your Aristotle, Longinus. These people are come from your Greco-Roman period. These are the ancients. And if you talk about the modern, the writers of the Renaissance period are called the modern writers over here. So these they compared their writing. They were all discussing at this point. It is not a debate, it is just a discussion, because it is the beginning, and they are just comparing, they are talking that whatever has happened, or what was there in the past, and what is happening in the present, and who has achieved what. So that is the beginning of the work. So the third character, which represents Lord Bucharest, Eugenius, he suggests that let's, just let's limit ourselves to the particular kind of poetry. They were earlier discussing the whole genres of literature, then every kind of literature, but now they are limiting themselves to poetry. Then Cricht says, let us confine ourselves to dramatic poetry, because in poetry also you have lyrical poetry, you have narrative poetry, you have elegy, you have all these kind of different poetries are there. So he said, let's confine ourselves to dramatic poetry. So now this discussion is going to turn into a debate, because they are narrowing down their topic. They are coming to a particular genre, particular style of writing, that is dramatic poetry, and they are now going to discuss over it, because they said that we will one person is going to defend only one side, whatever of is their choice, right? So then it happens that Lycidius begins with a definition of a play. You just have to recall the definition that is given by Aristotle. An action of no, that is a representation of an action, tragedy, if you remember Aristotle's definition, which is complete, of certain magnitude and all that. You just have to recall that. And here we have this Lycidius defining the drama, defining play in his own words. What he says, he says that a just and a play is, what is a play? A play is a just and lively image of human nature, representing its passions and humors and the changes of fortune to which it is subject for the delight and instruction of mankind. It is very much based on the definition that was given by Aristotle, with some more quantifiers, some more qualifiers, which he has used, like just and lively, because rest is there, that that change in fortune has to be seen there. It's a representation of life, that is there, in the definition that was given by Aristotle about about tragedy. But here he uses the word just and lively. That means he doesn't want the work, no, the drama to be very just representative of any mere copying. He is not in the favor of imitation, just imitation of nature. He wants the whatever you are representing, it should be just and lively also. These two words are going to make English drama superior to all the other dramas then, because this lively and just would has a very penetrating meaning or value in this definition, the which will be justified when I am going to talk about all the four writers, what their points were, right? Lively means it should, there should be some kind of life in the work. It should, you should feel it to be real. Just means justifying. It should be some logic should be there, some reasons should be there. It should not be abrupt or anything. So these two words make the whole difference to the definition, and it would help in the establishing the superiority of the English drama. So this is about the beginning of the essay. Now you know that what is the setting, who are the four characters, and what is the structure, that is the form of the work. As I mentioned, it is among the four characters. You know the four characters now. So uh, after this, definitely we will start with the four different characters and their choice of drama, what the points they have taken. So that will be all in today's lecture, and we'll continue very soon from in the next lecture. Thank you and have a great time.